The static breaks. There is a voice threading through frequencies that should not exist. Like tuning through dead air at 3 a.m. and finding something listening back. UV found the signal that broadcasts from the space between worlds. I am Damien T.A.O. Tonight's tale crawls out from the Republican era, when warlords carved the land like butchers and survival was a coin toss against darkness. In those days, living was hard enough, but dying required precision. In Clear River Township, there lived a man named Chen, 99 years old. The villagers called him Elder Chen with the kind of reverence usually reserved for saints. Elder Chen never lived a single day for himself. The village roads, built with money he'd saved for his own coffin. The riverside levee. He placed every stone with hands that had forgotten the meaning of rest. The vegetables from his garden went to neighbors, never to his own table. When families held weddings or funerals, they asked Elder Chen to preside. He was the village patriarch in everything but name. Even the village chief bowed when Elder Chen entered a room. But that winter, heaven called in its debts. On the 15th day of the 12th month, snow buried the doorways. Elder Chen passed away. The snow fell harder that day, as if the sky itself wept. Village Chief Zhang summoned the elders immediately. The funeral had to be conducted with the highest honors. The entire village pooled their money. Elder Chen would depart this world in glory. His spirit tablet would be placed in the ancestral hall to receive offerings for eternity. In those days, entering the ancestral hall was an honor greater than gold. They erected the mourning pavilion. White cloth draped every surface like skin peeled from the house itself. The next day, the entire village arrived. One by one, they knelt before the altar and kowtowed. The wailing shook the rafters. By evening, after the funeral banquet, most had dispersed. Only the closest relatives remained to keep the night vigil. This is where the rules get important. Chen Fugui, the eldest son, knelt before the coffin, burning spirit currency, wiring funds to the bank of hell as it were. He muttered as he burned, "Father, don't be stingy now. The whole village sent you money. Buy whatever you want down there." Tears streaked his weathered face as he remembered his father's suffering in younger years. Several grandchildren sat nearby, tossing paper currency into the flames between quiet sobs. After 2 hours, Chen Fugi could no longer fight exhaustion. Nearly 70 himself, his energy had limits. He instructed the younger ones to continue the vigil and retreated to the inner room to rest. The children said nothing. Their faces carried the same fatigue, eyes half closed. They mechanically fed paper money to the flames, their movements becoming a ritual divorced from thought. From the large poplar tree in the courtyard came a sudden burst of crows. Their cawing cut through the night like rusted scissors through fabric. One child glanced up at the tree, then at the coffin. A shiver ran through him like ice water in his veins. The others unconsciously hunched their shoulders, trying to make themselves smaller. Then it happened. A heavy sigh emanated from inside the coffin. The air in the pavilion crystallized. Every molecule stopped moving. The children's eyes widened until the whites showed all around. They stared at the coffin, breath caught in their throats. One particularly nervous child's teeth began to chatter. The sound echoed in the silence like bones rattling in a bag. Another sigh, this one clearer, unmistakably from inside the sealed coffin. The children screamed and bolted for the door, their voices tearing through the night. "He is rising. The corpse is rising," they shrieked as they fled. Chen Fugi had just laid down when the screaming jolted him upright. His heart hammered against his ribs. He rushed to the courtyard and found his grandchildren huddled in the corner, shaking like leaves before a storm. Chen Fugi forced himself to enter the mourning pavilion. By flickering candlelight, he examined the coffin. The lid was sealed tight. Nothing appeared disturbed. He turned to the children and barked, "Stop this nonsense. There is nothing wrong. You'll scare yourselves into actual trouble." He picked up more paper money and resumed burning, but after only 2 sheets entered the flames. The sigh came again from within the coffin. Chen Fugi's blood turned to slush. The paper money fell from his fingers and fluttered to the ground like dying moths. Cold sweat soaked through his clothes. He threw himself before the coffin and began kowtowing. The sound of his head striking the floor echoed through the pavilion. Thud, thud. Father, I know you suffered. I know you had a hard life. You should have enjoyed your old age. But fate had other plans. Your son, your daughter-in-law, your grandchildren are all here. Please don't frighten them. Chen Fugi kowtowed 100 times, his forehead split and bleeding. Whether his words worked or everyone had simply imagined it, the sighing stopped. He didn't dare return to bed. Instead, he found a chair beside the pavilion and collapsed into it. The candles flickered. Shadows danced across the walls like something trying to take shape. In his half-sleep, Chen Fugui sensed someone standing before him. He forced his eyes open. His father stood there looking exactly as he had in life, except his face was the color of candle wax. The old man spoke. His voice was soft, but each word landed with the weight of a tombstone. Fugi, I spent my whole life caring for others. So many came to send me off. I'm grateful. Tell the villagers thank you for me. I can never repay this kindness. The old man paused. His eyes hardened like stone. In the future, when the villagers face hardship, you must help them. Do you understand? His voice carried the weight of absolute authority, the kind that doesn't leave room for negotiation. Chen Fugi tried to speak, tried to reach for his father, but the moment he moved, the dream shattered. He opened his eyes. Dawn hadn't arrived yet. The morning pavilion was empty, just a dream, but it felt more real than waking. Every word his father spoke remained carved into his memory. On the day of the funeral, 10 of the village's strongest men hoisted the coffin toward the ancestral burial ground. Behind them stretched a massive procession. Paper servants, paper horses, paper houses, and furniture, like a ventriloquist's dummy collection, but filled with the currency of the dead. Suona horns wailed. Mourning cries echoed across the hills. The scene was magnificent, but when they reached the fork in the road leading to the burial ground, something went wrong. The 10 pallbearers suddenly felt the coffin grow heavier and heavier and heavier. Their feet rooted to the earth like tree stumps. They couldn't move forward even an inch. Sweat poured down their faces. Their skin flushed crimson from exertion. When the front stopped, the entire procession ground to a halt. Everyone exchanged confused glances. Village Chief Zhang pushed to the front. His confidence wavered when he saw the pallbearer's predicament. "What is happening?" he demanded, though his voice carried less certainty than usual. Pallbearers could only shake their heads, gasping for breath. One managed to choke out, "We can't move forward." An elderly villager stepped forward from the crowd. His face carried the map of experience. "The old master doesn't want to go," he said simply. "He is refusing the burial." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. In folk tradition, when the deceased won't proceed to burial, it means they have unfinished business. A debt uncollected, a message undelivered. Chen Fugi's dream came rushing back. The command in his father's eyes, "You must help them." He stepped forward and knelt before the coffin. In front of the entire village, he made a vow. "Father, I understand. I swear on my life I will help the villagers when they need it. I will honor your legacy." The moment the words left his mouth, the pallbearers gasped. The weight vanished. The coffin felt light as bamboo. They proceeded to the burial ground without further incident. The funeral concluded without issue, but Chen Fugi's vow would be tested sooner than anyone expected. 3 years later, an earthquake split the earth. The crack ran right through Chen family land, swallowing half the field like a mouth opening in the ground. The village was in crisis. That field belonged to the collective. The grain processing workshop sat right on the edge of the fissure. Village Chief Wang Arlen called an emergency meeting. The workshop couldn't operate safely with that gaping wound in the earth beside it. They needed to fill the crack, but it was deep. Too deep. When they dropped stones in, no sound came back. The village had no money for proper repairs. The collective coffers were empty as a beggar's bowl. Wang Erlin came to Chen Fugi's door. "Old Chen, we need help. The village needs you." Chen Fugui remembered his father's words, his vow. Without hesitation, he opened his savings, the money meant for his own old age. He donated everything, every coin. The village used it to purchase materials and hire workers to stabilize the area. Crack couldn't be filled completely, but they built supports around it and reinforced the workshop. The village could continue functioning. Everyone praised Chen Fugi. Like father, like son, they said. The Chen family is our blessing. But that crack in the earth became something else. Something wrong. At night, people claimed to hear whispers rising from it. Children wouldn't go near it. Animals gave it wide berth. Their instincts screaming warnings their human masters couldn't hear. One autumn evening, a young woman named Qing Hahua was walking home from the fields. Night fell faster than expected. She took a shortcut past the grain processing workshop. The building loomed in the twilight, its windows like empty eye sockets. As she passed the crack, she felt it. A cold breath rising from below, touching the back of her neck like fingers made of ice. She quickened her pace. Behind her, she heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, not matching her rhythm. Qing Hefa didn't look back. Looking back is how you invite things to follow you home. The footsteps got closer. A man's voice called out, "Hey, little sister, wait up." She recognized the voice, Zhao Laosen, the village troublemaker, a man whose very name made mothers pull their daughters closer. Zhao Laosen had a reputation theft, harassment, worse things whispered about but never proven. Qing Hehua ran. Zhao Laosen ran faster. He caught her near the workshop entrance. "Where are you going so fast?" "I just want to talk," he sneered, his breath reeking of cheap liquor. She struggled. He dragged her toward the workshop door. The rusted lock had been broken weeks ago, never repaired. Inside, the workshop was black as a tomb. Zhao Laosen shoved her against the wall. Qing Heihua screamed. He clamped a filthy hand over her mouth. "Scream all you want. No one's around to hear." Then the grinding machine started. No one had touched it. No one had turned it on. But the great stone wheel began to rotate, metal shrieking against metal. The entire building shook. Zhao Laosen froze, his grip loosening. Every metal tool in the workshop began to clang and rattle. Hammers, sickles, chains. Like invisible hands were playing them as instruments of warning. The sound was deafening, a cacophony of metal screaming in protest against what was happening within these walls. Qing Hahua felt Zhao Laosen's hands go slack. He staggered backward, his face draining of color. She didn't waste the opportunity. She shoved him hard and ran for the door, not stopping, not looking back. She ran all the way home and dove under her blankets, crying ghosts, 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 over and over until her voice gave out. The next morning, a farmer discovered Zhao Laosen's body inside the workshop. He was dead. His eyes bulged from their sockets, mouth frozen in a scream, face locked in absolute terror. Black liquid pooled beneath him. Not blood. Something thicker, darker, the color of old nightmares. The village elders examined the body. They found no external wounds. His heart had simply stopped from pure terror. When Qing Hahua told her story, the villagers nodded knowingly. Karma, they said. Heaven's justice. Wang Erling cursed Zhao Laosen's name. That bastard got what he deserved. The old master protected her. Others agreed. Zhao Laosen had been trouble his entire life. Stealing chickens, harassing women, breaking into homes during wedding celebrations to steal jewelry. He'd been beaten more than once for his crimes, but he never changed. Some men are rotten to the core, and no amount of punishment can cure it. The villagers said retribution would come eventually. They just didn't expect it to be so swift, so absolute. Someone examined the grinding machine afterward. It wasn't connected to any power source. The switch was in the off position, yet witnesses swore they heard it running that night. The whole building had shaken with its rotation. The tools hanging on the walls were undisturbed, yet they had clanged loud enough to wake the ancestors. Some elders said the earthquake had released something from below. The crack in the earth was a doorway, and something had stepped through to deliver justice. Others claimed the land itself was an old mass grave, full of restless spirits who saw Zhao Laosan's crime and intervened. Whatever the truth, Zhao Laosan died with his face frozen in ultimate horror, eyes seeing something no living person should witness. The workshop was locked again, this time with heavy iron chains that bit into the wooden doorframe. No one went near it. Parents pulled their children away when they walked past. Don't go near there. It is unclean. At night, people claim to hear things from inside. The grinding machine starting up, screaming, metal clanging in rhythm like a funeral drum. Years later, the village finally had money to tear the workshop down. The workers had to drink liquor for courage before entering. Halfway through demolition, they found a ceramic jar buried beneath the floor. Inside, hair, fingernails, and a yellowed paper covered in vermilion symbols no one could read. A curse object. Someone had buried it there years ago, a trap for evildoers. The Taoist priest they summoned burned everything and performed purification rites for 3 days. Only then did the land finally grow quiet. The whispers from the crack ceased. New houses were built on the site. New families moved in, but the old villagers remember. When young troublemakers act up, the elders tell them about Zhao Laosan, about what happens when you cross certain lines. You see what happened to him. Keep going down that path, and you'll end up worse. And it works. The story keeps people honest. Fear of karma is more effective than any law, because in the end, the account books of good and evil are kept by forces we don't see but can't escape. Elder Chen lived his life in service. His coffin refused to move until his son promised to continue his legacy. Zhao Laosan lived his life taking from others. His death came in terror, alone in the dark with machines that shouldn't move. 2 stories. 2 fates. The universe keeps score in ways we barely comprehend. Qing Hahua married a man from another village and left. Before departing, she burned incense at the ancestral hall. She told her parents, "Something helped me that night. I don't know what, but I'm grateful." Her father said simply, "It wasn't help. It was justice. Heaven took him." The story spread across 10 villages. Good deeds bring reward. Evil brings reckoning. People say karma isn't real until they see it with their own eyes. Then they become believers overnight. That crack in the earth, still visible if you know where to look. Covered now but not gone. Some say on certain nights, when the moon is dark, you can still hear the grinding machine. No one investigates. Some doors once opened are better left undisturbed. The workshop is gone, but its memory remains. Buildings can be demolished. Stories cannot. Shen Fugui kept his promise. For decades he helped villagers in need, never turning anyone away. When he finally died at 92, the entire region attended his funeral. Just like his father, his coffin moved smoothly to the burial ground. No hesitation, no supernatural weight. Just peace. The message was clear. Live right, die right. Live wrong, die in terror. Tonight I've given you 2 tales. One of virtue rewarded, one of wickedness punished. The universe maintains its accounts with precision we can barely fathom. You do good, you're protected. You do evil, something comes for you in the dark. The incense burns low now. The frequency begins to fade. Remember what you've heard tonight. The dead keep their promises. The wicked receive their wages. The stories I've shared tonight aren't just tales to pass the time. They're warnings etched into the fabric of the world. Elder Chen's spirit wouldn't rest until justice was promised. Zhao Laosan's spirit couldn't rest because justice was delivered. The crack in the earth remains a scar on the land, a reminder that some doors swing both ways. Heaven watches, heaven waits, but heaven always collects. The incense burns low. Subscribe so you don't miss the warning when the spirits rise again. Sleep carefully.